Boruto is not that bad. Okay, hear me out. I know what you're thinking. Look out everybody, another Boruto glazer. It'll never load to Naruto. Look, I know it has flaws, but here's the thing. Boruto isn't Naruto. It's carving its own path, and when you dig into the manga, you'll actually realize it's an incredible story that's underrated by casual and hardcore anime fans alike. Today, I want to talk about why Boruto deserves just a little bit more credit. Yes, it's a bit different than Naruto. Yes, there's an overuse of space aliens. And yes, the power scaling is just ridiculous. But underneath all that is a series that's tackling themes that Naruto couldn't. It's exploring a whole new generation of characters and honestly doing something very bold and unique with its world building. Sometimes I don't even think it's fair to compare Boruto directly to Naruto. You're comparing two different eras. But since they do exist in the same world and one is a sequel to the other, they obviously are. You see, Naruto is about grit, overcoming adversity, and becoming a hero against all odds. Boruto, on the other hand, is about navigating the burden of that legacy and having it all stripped away. It's also about a world in transition, one that's struggling to balance tradition with progress. And if you ask me, that's just as compelling. So let's talk about why Boruto is underrated and why it deserves more appreciation from anime fans. I'm going to talk about how it stands as a worthy successor to Naruto, the themes it tackles that the original series couldn't, and yes, we'll also address the criticisms. Because, let's be real, this series does have a lot of flaws. That's why it gets a lot of hate. So whether you're a diehard fan of Naruto, someone who dropped off the Boruto anime early, or just a manga fan curious about all the debate, stick around. I might just change your mind about the son of the 7th Hokage. Okay, to understand why Boruto's been overlooked or dismissed by anime fans, you have to first look at the shadow that's standing in. Naruto. I mean, how do you even follow up one of the most beloved shonen series of all time? Seriously, I'm asking you guys a question. I'm expecting a 3-page paper down in the comments, APA format. Naruto wasn't just a story about a ninja, it was a cultural phenomenon. For so many people, including myself, it was a series that taught us about perseverance, the power of bonds, and believing in ourselves no matter how impossible the odds seemed. From the tuning exams to the 4th grade ninja war, Naruto's journey from an outcast to Hokage was a masterclass in underdog storytelling. But not without its faults either, and that could be a whole other video. And look, following a story of that caliber, that's just tough. So when Boruto came along back in 2016 or 2015 if you want to count the movie, expectations were high. Fans wanted more of that Naruto Part 1 energy. More rags to riches grit, more grounded ninja battles, and more moments where you found yourself cheering at the screen because your favorite character proved everyone wrong. But that's not really what we got. Instead of retreading the same ground like a lot of people wanted it to, Boruto takes a different approach. The main theme of this series, at least in the beginning, is about living in the shadow of greatness. And unlike Naruto when he was growing up, Boruto doesn't have to fight to be recognized. He's already the son of the Hokage. Naruto, the greatest ninja to have ever lived. He doesn't know the pain of being an outcast or growing up alone like Naruto did. His family is intact and his village already respects him. And that's why honestly he's quite unbearable in the beginning of the series. It's meant to be that way. And I almost feel like a lot of people wrote off Boruto because of his naivety. Naivety? He's naive. You know what I'm saying. And the fact that he hated Naruto so much for not being around. On paper, he has everything Naruto dreamed of. But what Boruto shows us is that greatness comes with its own challenges. For Boruto, that challenge is carving out his own identity. He doesn't want to be Naruto's son. Hell, he doesn't even want to be Hokage. Instead, he's grappling with the weight of expectations, the pressure of living in a peaceful era that doesn't seem to need him, and the frustration of being compared to a father he doesn't fully understand. That's a perspective we rarely get to see in shonen stories. And I think that's what makes Boruto so compelling. While Naruto's story was about fighting his way out of the gutter to achieve greatness, Boruto's story is about figuring out what greatness even means when everything seems handed to you. It's a reversal of the classic underdog tale, and it's a fresh take on what it means to live in a world built by the sacrifices of others. In fact, it's not just Boruto we see dealing with this. We can see how other characters handle this huge legacy through Sarada. Sasuke is also trying to prove that she's more than just Sasuke and Sakura's daughter. Kawaki, on the other hand, is grappling with being thrust into a world he never asked to be a part of, living as an outsider in a family dynamic he doesn't trust. These are struggles Naruto and his friends just couldn't explore because their circumstances were so different. So when people say Boruto doesn't live up to Naruto, I think they're missing the point. It's not supposed to be Naruto. It's a sequel that respects the legacy of his predecessor while tackling entirely new themes and challenges. And that, in my opinion, is what makes this series an ambitious and underrated follow-up. Peace never lasts. One of the most interesting things about Boruto that I mentioned earlier is how it tackles themes that Naruto couldn't. Boruto isn't just a continuation of the ninja world. It's a deeper exploration of what happens when the world evolves. Let's start with one of the biggest shifts. Good old technology. In Naruto's time, the ninja world is steeped in tradition. Missions were handwritten, battles were fought with jutsu and physical skill, and communication was limited to basic tools. In Boruto, we see a world transformed by rapid technological progress. To me, this is such a welcome addition to the story, and I thought it was a great way to raise the stakes of the series. The Hidden Leaf is no longer just a village, it's a damn metropolis. There are advanced scientific ninja tools, ninja tech that amplifies abilities, and even a completely redefined way of thinking about what it means to be a shinobi. Oh, and there's also androids. This isn't just a cosmetic change either. It actually introduces ethical questions. Is the reliance on technology making the ninja world lose its identity? And are shinobi becoming obsolete? Boruto himself embodies this tension. He's tech savvy and embraces the tools of the new era, but he also values the traditions of his father's generation. To be honest, I feel like we can all kind of relate to that. That type of war creates some fascinating conflicts that reflect real-world debates about progress versus tradition. Another major theme is the generational divide. In Naruto, the focus was on building bonds. Naruto wanted to find acceptance and form relationships he never had as a child. In Boruto, the story flips this idea on its head. Now we're looking at those relationships through the lens of a parent and child dynamic. Boruto loves his dad, but resents how Naruto's Hokage duties keep him away from the family. It's a much more relatable and grounded conflict, especially for fans who grew up with Naruto and may have families of their own now. These are deep, personal stories that take the themes of identity and family from Naruto and evolve them into something fresh and compelling. And then there's Kawaki. I don't trust that guy. If Boruto's story is about individuality in the shadow of legacy, Kawaki's story is about finding belonging in a world that's rejected him at every turn. His arc is raw and emotional, and it challenges the idea of what family means. Kawaki's bond with Naruto, and later his conflict with Boruto, adds layers of complexity that we didn't get to see in Naruto. These themes, technology, generational conflict, and identity, make Boruto so much more than just a sequel series. They elevate it into something that reflects the struggles of a new era while still honoring the heart of Naruto. Whether you're someone navigating generational expectations or just trying to figure out how to fit into a rapidly changing world, Boruto resonates in ways that Naruto never could, because the world and the stakes are different now. Boruto isn't just repeating the past, it's redefining the future. And while it's easy to just dismiss it as Naruto's sequel, digging deeper shows a series that's willing to take risks, explore complex ideas, and challenge the very foundation of the world we thought we knew. Let's talk a bit more about the characters in Boruto. Boruto himself is a fascinating mix of contradictions. On one hand, he's brash and rebellious, eager to step out his father's shadow. On the other, he's empathetic, willing to go to great lengths to protect the people he cares about. His journey of self-discovery feels very grounded and realistic given the context. You can't help but root for him as he tries to find his place in a world that's already been shaped by his father. And then you have Sarada, as I mentioned before, who brings a fresh look on the Hokage dream. Unlike Naruto, her ambition comes from the place of logic and responsibility rather than desperation to prove herself. Her dynamic with Boruto creates a balance between heart and intellect, making her one of the most compelling characters in the series. And then you got Mitsuki, Orochimaru's synthetic child creation thing. He struggles with questions of identity and purpose in ways that challenge the very concept of what it means to be human. These are deep personal stories that take the themes of Naruto and evolve them into something more unique and fresh. I touched on Kawaki a little bit earlier, but he's basically the new version of Sasuke. I mean, let's be honest. He's Boruto's rival, of course, and I find him extremely well placed amongst this cast of characters. In arguably a more family type of show, Kawaki is struggling to find his own family. His emotional scars from years of abuse and manipulation give his story incredible depth, and his gradual bond with Naruto and Himawari is one of my favorite things in the series. The further fleshing out of their relationship is one of the few things the anime did right. But what makes Kawaki so compelling is that his inner conflict is never fully resolved. Instead, it evolves. His shift from ally to antagonist is gut-wrenching and actually believable. Obviously, there's a bunch of other characters to get into, like even Konohamaru, which I don't know why he's given so much shit by the community. This poor guy is just a regular dude trying to keep up with space aliens and tailed beasts, and everyone just gives him such a hard time. Alright, let's talk about the bad. First, let's get into the art. For those of you who don't know, the Boruto manga is illustrated by, okay, bear with me here, Mikio Ikimoto? I think I said it right. Ikimoto's art style has been a point of contention for some fans who miss Kishimoto's iconic look. And yeah, the art in the beginning was rough. But as the series went on, the art style got much better and more closely aligned to its predecessor. And look, if there's another thing that falls flat for me in Boruto, it's the villains. How can a series create such good villains but such bad villains at the same time? It's so frustrating. Now, don't get me wrong, there are some standouts. Ao was actually a great character, especially going from being a loyal shinobi in Naruto to being a android thing now. His arc raised interesting questions about loyalty, loss, and the impact of war on individuals. And you also have Ishiki. He's easily one of the most formidable and better developed threats in the series. This man has aura. Seriously though, his fight against Naruto and Sasuke was pretty dope. But aside from those two, the rest of the villains just don't do it for me. Code, for example, had so much potential to be a menacing antagonist, but he often feels like a shallow, one-note character whose motivations never really hit as hard as they should. He also literally gets bodied every time he shows up in this series, even after he gets a power-up or whatever. It's pathetic, my guy. And don't get me started on the Otsutsuki as a whole. I think their appearances are pretty repetitive and vague, and their cosmic level goals make them feel more like a plot device than compelling villains. It's just hard to care about characters who feel so disconnected from the grounded, emotional storytelling that made Naruto's antagonists like Pain and Itachi so memorable. It's that relatability that I have the biggest issue with. In Naruto, the best villains were often a mirror to the protagonists. Characters like Pain and Obito had ideologies rooted in tragedy and humanity that forced Naruto to question his own beliefs. But with the Otsutsuki, we don't get that depth. They're more like godlike entities than characters with real, understandable motivations, and it's hard to stay invested when the stakes feel so abstract. Now, that said, I do have to give credit where credit is due. I actually really like Momoshiki's dynamic with Boruto. Their connection, forged through the karma mark, creates a ton of tension when there's a possibility of him being released. Momoshiki isn't just a one-off villain who's defeated and forgotten. He becomes a lingering presence in Boruto's life, almost like a shadow hanging over him. Momoshiki's cryptic messages and his subtle manipulation of Boruto's fate make him feel more than just an antagonist. Just like the good old Ninetales, he's an ally and a threat both at the same time. This duality is fascinating and adds depth to both characters. Ultimately, the villains are the weakest parts of Boruto for me. They feel more like obstacles to move the plot forward than characters with their own compelling stories. If the series can find a way to create more interesting villains, then it could elevate it so much more. And while I made this video, we still have a lot to learn about the current villains of the series, the Shinju. So I'm hoping they change things around. Another issue I have is the power scaling. Boruto characters are strong. I mean, too strong. Boruto and Kawaki, especially after unlocking the karma powers, feel almost invincible at times. And damn, I thought Naruto and Sasuke got too strong. For reference, and maybe this is a bit of a spoiler, but Boruto where he is right now could solo all of Naruto Shippuden with his hands tied behind his back probably. That's insane. One of the reasons why Naruto works so well is because it was kind of grounded. It wasn't just about raw power. It was about growing as a person, learning new techniques, and finding creative ways to overcome stronger opponents. In Boruto, the power-ups feel like shortcuts. Karma and Otsutsuki related boosts give characters immense abilities without the same sense of growth or struggle. The scientific ninja tools were at least believable and a natural progression to the world. Hell, I can even believe that this generation is inherently better than the last because Kakashi mentioned that thing in Naruto Shippuden. But when you introduce something like the Karma and Otsutsuki, you end up creating such a power gap in the characters that it instantly makes a lot of them useless. And then this leads into that narrative issue. How do you keep the stakes going if the characters are so strong? When every new enemy is just stronger than the last, it risks turning into a formulaic power race. That said, even with its flaws, the Boruto manga is absolutely still worth reading. Boruto's internal conflict with the Karma isn't just about power, it's about identity. He's struggling with the idea that he might lose control of himself entirely, becoming more of a tool than a person. That emotional weight keeps the story grounded even when the battles reach insane scales. The future of Boruto is shaping up to be one of the most exciting eras in the Naruto universe, and honestly I can't wait to see where it's headed. For those of you who don't know, Boruto is well past its time skip now in a series called Two Blue Vortex. At the heart of the future of the story is a growing rivalry between Boruto and Kawaki. This conflict isn't just about power or personal grudges, it's about the fundamentally different views on how to protect the world they care about. Kawaki and Boruto's conflict feels more like a tragic fallout between two brothers who genuinely care about each other but can't agree on the path forward. It's the kind of nuanced storytelling that makes me excited to see how the relationship evolves and what the ultimate cost of their choices will be. Not to mention, it's been almost 9 years since that flash forward scene in chapter 1. The release of Boruto Two Blue Vortex has completely shifted the narrative of the series, and it's safe to say that the stakes have never been higher. The time skip we were all waiting for is finally here. Boruto's transformation in Two Blue Vortex is especially intriguing. He's matured in ways that feel earned, and his return to the village after the time skip is packed with tension, drama, and a sense of purpose that we've been waiting to see. Where Boruto Two Blue Vortex is today feels like the beginning of something truly special. The series has fully embraced his identity as more than just a sequel to Naruto. It's about legacy, growth, and becoming your own person. Whether it's Boruto stepping into his role as a leader, Kawaki's increasingly extreme vision of peace, or the evolving ninja world itself, this is a series that's not afraid to take risks. Thank you so much for watching, guys. If you've been thinking about reading Boruto, I highly recommend it. There's never been a better time to jump in. I think the best days of the series are still ahead of us. And as this whole video mentioned, I think the series has really come into its own, so definitely go check it out. If you enjoyed this video, drop a like down below. It really helps me out, and subscribe for more. I'll see you guys later. Thanks.